Erik ten Hag's journey as the Manchester United manager has got off to a very good start. And they won 4-0 in Thailand against Liverpool. Can we read anything into it, Simon?
I think you'll see that out of that Liverpool lineup, there's probably 7 players in that lineup that was put out that won't feature as their starting 11 at the beginning of the season. If it were Man United getting spanked 4-0, it would be a catastrophe. It would be the beginning of the same set of cycles that Ten Hag was inheriting. It's nothing in that result for me, besides the fact that we don't get some adverse press from Man United. Liverpool will come away with it saying, well, it was what it was. And it was what it was. They put 7 players out that won't feature as part of their starting lineup. Man United have won 4-0. The story would have always been, if it had been Man United that got beat 4-0, then it would be a story. Yeah,
no one really should get carried away because it is pre-season. Liverpool mix and match their team. Most of the big hitters coming on in the second half. United actually played an 11, which I'm sure has fielded in the Premier League before to start with. But Erik ten Hag will have taken encouragement from the performance and what appeared to be some evidence of his coaching already creeping into the team. But his quotes after the game gave it a bit of perspective for me, Trevor. Believe me, he said, I've seen a lot of mistakes. You wouldn't say that when you look at the result. But honestly, Liverpool played in 3 teams. They were not in their strongest. So we have to not overestimate this result. But still, I've seen some really good things. And I think that what you will see is that a lot of creativity and speed up front. So we have potential. Is that what they've got to maximise?
I think so. At the moment, you look at that forward line, pace, Anthony Martial's been given an opportunity. Rashford looks like that rest over the summer has done him the world of good. He looks like he's worked on himself. He looked in incredible condition.
He's been working at the Nike HQ in Oregon all summer.
Yeah, but I knew would do that. If he was going to become the player that we once seen and thought, this boy is the real deal, he would have had to do that. He would have had to make that sacrifice. I've said it to Simon before. I've done it. If you have a bad season, you can either feel sorry for yourself, trip over your lip, go out, go drinking, a B for this, that and the other, or you can have a little look in the mirror and say, that's not good enough. I need to do something about this summer. I'm going to go away.
Is this him trying to fight for a place in the World Cup squad?
Of course it is. Listen, it's the most important time for any player. If you want to be in the national team, the summer before the season begins is the most important time to get ahead of the rest of the players who are going out partying. And you know what? The performance was good. I think for the players' point of view, they'll believe in the manager a little bit more, the way they pressed, what the patterns of play are. They'll be buying into it because you get success. And I know it's success against 6 under 19 Liverpool players in the first half. Stronger team in the second half. They won the second half 1-0, but they will get confidence and they will start to believe in Erik ten Hag and the way that he wants them to play. And going back to the manager, of course he's going to see loads of mistakes. I've been watching the training sessions for Manchester United. Yeah. He's been moaning about mistakes in training. Look after the ball, focus, be humble. And he mentioned humble.
It was really interesting actually watching those training sessions and then seeing some of those patterns of play develop in that game.
You have to be meticulous because this is where coaches earn the corn. If you see mistakes there and you're letting it go, expect it on a Saturday. So what he's doing is he's picking up on it in training, telling the boys to tidy up, be focused, watch the ball onto your foot, make sure that touch is spot on. Because if you get it spot on time and time again in training, guess what? You're going to get it spot on a match day.
The fact that you can already see a clear difference in the approach of Manchester United and the whole demeanour of the way they sort of presented themselves in the training sessions that we watched on, I think it was Monday, and then the game yesterday, does it just highlight the importance of having a very well qualified coach?
Well, of course. You would expect that, wouldn't you? I mean, the guy's not coming in to keep the momentum that they didn't have last year, did he? The status quo has to change.
But for so long, they haven't appointed someone of that sort of stature. They've looked for a name or they've looked for someone who is associated with the past.
Well, I think you've got to make the arguments fairly and equitably. I think there's an argument to suggest that Mourinho wasn't necessarily doing things in the wrong way. The last 6 months of his relationship with Manchester United was clouded by darkness, failure to get what he wanted.
But was that always a match? Was that always a good match? Was Manchester United, going forward, excitement... And
there's a lot of myths about how much Man United dominated games in the past because they were a lot of the time a counter-attacking side as a matter of course.
But they were cavalier side.
They were cavalier, absolutely right. But they had different group of players at that time. Mourinho had won them the Europa League. He'd won the League Cup. He'd put them second in the league. He wanted Harry Maguire. Has a tantrum, doesn't get him. A year later, they sign Harry Maguire, which doesn't seem to make sense because if you get Mourinho and you've got to spend money with him. Louis van Gaal was a strange dynamic. David Moyes was never given any choice, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was a joke. So you look at the last 3 years and say the last 3 years were a waste of time, but they had 3 bona fide managers that were in the right space for a difficult time. Everybody that took United after Ferguson was going to struggle. So Moyes was unfairly positioned. The other two guys were okay. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the exercise in time that was lost for Man United and the diminishment of the club and the mountain they've got to climb.
But they still finished second.
They did, granted. And I have to accept that my vantage point would be that it was a very dysfunctional league at that time. Liverpool were all over the place because they had lost so many players during that season, and they defended their league, Premier League, quite poorly that year. But notwithstanding it, they still finished second. But they never won anything. Now, Ten Hag comes in. He has to be a new broom. He has to be strong. You have to see the evidence from the outset that he has a vision of how he wants these players to play, how he expects them to conduct themselves. Some of the stuff that's found itself into the media about his 5-point plan, about what they can and can't do and what they can and can't eat and how they can and can't talk to their agents.
Could you not eat in the studio, by the way, please?
I just eat to maintain the strength and the will to live when I'm sitting across the table from people like you. But the point is that Ten Hag, you should be. This is trying to find information out about you and your ice skating antics. But from the point of view of Ten Hag needing to be definite, yes, of course you want to see a guy come in the door. You don't want to see the same body language, the same disposition, the same outlook. You expect him to have very clear views. Otherwise, what the hell have you got?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to talk a little bit later on. I think we'll probably will do it a little bit later on about the idea that, overseas TV deals have gone through the roof. And yesterday in that game, there was 50,000 people inside that stadium. It was a sellout crowd. Yep. All these teams that are going on these huge tours around the world are selling out massive stadiums. And does that reignite the debate of, trying to bring in more money by taking a game on the road? Well, you look at the NFL, they're taking games to Mexico this year, as well as bringing them over to the United Kingdom. I'm not necessarily sure fans will be happy about that, but certainly it will come back on the agenda at some point. Well, fans that live in those countries would be. But
what about fans who are not supporting a team that gets into Europe?
Yeah.
The opportunity to go.
You're debating taking a game out of the fixture list and dropping it into a country.
I'm not debating it. I'm saying I'm sure it's on the mind of some of the executives. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, over the course of the next hour or so. We're going to talk about TV and the cost of how much you have to pay for your subscriptions as well.
Just going back to pre-season and this pre-season game between Liverpool and Manchester United, the only thing that matters is that the players get some fitness out of it, understand what the manager is trying to apply in his methods, and they don't get injured.
You might be right, but it might set the tone for the new season where Manchester United take on Liverpool live on Match Night Monday, only on talkSPORT on the 22nd of August. So we'll look forward to that.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.